Welcome to
Ping
Pong
Philosophy
with
Mikkola.
Mikkola is Professor of Philosophy and Chair of Metaphysics at the University of Amsterdam. You can learn more about her and her work in the description down below.
Thank you for being here, Mari.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Mari, what is a philosophical position or idea you wish it were true, but in your view, it is not?
This is in a sense, difficult question because I don't really think about philosophical positions or ideas necessarily as being truth-apt. It's more like how, in terms of ideals, or rather, ideas and ideals, how far away are we in actuality from the ideals that we can philosophically give an elucidation of. And of course, as a feminist philosopher, my heart is very much with those ideals that have to do with social justice in its various forms. I wish we were there, closer to them, but unfortunately we are not. And I fear that we are going further away from them as well.
Okay. When was the time when you realized we're going further away from this? Was it recently? Or?
Well, I had hoped that we were going in the good direction. And if you come to my office here, you will see a poster from the time Obama got elected, where he rips off his shirt, a Superman style, and the shirt says, "This is what a feminist looks like." And that was a time that I was quite optimistic. And then, well,
everything that's happening right now.
The rest is history, and I think we all know what I'm referring to.
All right, but so on this topic of ideas and ideals in philosophy, can you tell me something in which you have recently changed your mind?
I've been teaching and working on discriminatory speech, hate speech issues for quite some while. And to begin with, a lot of the literature that is coming from the United States made me somewhat annoyed, maybe too strong, but certainly not very convinced that they were always trying very much to argue for the strongest possible free speech protections, which to me was a way of legitimizing a lot of harmful speech that actually I think should not be protected. However, more recently I have very much changed my view, and my work is now in the direction of wanting to provide accounts of hate speech that really do take the free speech protections more seriously, because I now see that a lot of I think speech that ought not to be curbed by conceptions of, for state legislators and government officials and media empire, so to speak, is being curbed in a way that's very unfortunate and harmful.
Okay, I really like how you phrase this about this unknowing you. What does it have to have a philosophical idea or position to annoy you? Because, it is very particular to you, I guess. So, can you tell us why this annoys you?
So, I do think I am originally from Finland, which I suppose many people think. I've worked in the UK. I've worked in Germany. I now work in the Netherlands. Much of the many philosophical works and lots of ideas coming from Anglo-American, specifically American contexts, are extremely decontextualized and just assume that everywhere is like the United States.
Very parochial in that sense.
In that sense, very parochial, and often I feel that there are certain intuitions that we have been trained to have, which then, if you come from a different context or a different part of the world, you don't have, but you are told you just haven't understood the problem. And those are the kinds of things that I find sort of annoying, the parochialness of sometimes of philosophy.
Right. So, but now let's change tracks a little bit, because we talk about ideas that you think are not likely to be true or that annoy you. But what is something that you have cherished and celebrated and defended for a long time in philosophy?
Well,
I think I know the answer.
Yes, I think my answer will not be particularly surprising to people, but clearly having more socially engaged philosophy, for feminist philosophy, for philosophy of race, many other, so to speak, emancipatory strands in philosophy to become bona fide parts of philosophy, as opposed to being seen as something that properly belongs to different disciplines. I mean, this is something that I have fought for many years, decades, and that I do now cherish, that people do take these areas of philosophy seriously as areas of philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say that your case is especially like a triumph, since you are the chair for Metaphysics here in Amsterdam. So that's very nice. Now I want to switch tracks. These first three questions were about your philosophical positions. I want to talk about you as a philosophy educator as well, since you teach here at the UvA. But what is a text, or text in a very broad sense, that you recommend to all philosophy students?
I'm not sure if there's any text that I would recommend. I thought about that question, and one, perhaps this is not so much a recommendation, but a challenge. I guess I would challenge philosophy students to take up Hegel's phenomenology of spirit, and let's see how far people get.
Do you have a personal story with the phenomenology?
I was, in the early days of my career, very early, part of my PhD actually dealt with feminist philosophy and also Hegel's philosophy. And my PhD supervisor, one of them was Bob Stern at Sheffield, well-known Hegelian, and so I read a lot of Hegel in my early years.
Did you get far in the phenomenology?
I have read the whole thing, and I did teach it. One time I have taught the entire book as a whole course. That was quite a...
Wow. No. I've never read it. I think I got to the first chapter, and that was it. But I'm going to take up with your challenge.
Yes.
See if I can make it to the second one this time.
Very good.
Now you talked about this, your supervisor being very influential on you in Hegelian terms. But do you have a favorite living philosopher?
I don't. Partly, I think. Well, let me just say that I have one of my favorite philosophers. Indeed, was Bob Stern, who sadly passed away recently. Who was not only a fabulous philosopher, but just one of the best human beings I've ever met in my life. So shout out to Bob and everybody who loves him. And I know there's many. But I do think that what we do a little bit too much also in philosophy is, maybe worshipping is a too strong a word, but a sort of this type of putting people up on a pedestal, and it's a little bit of that there are philosophical superstars who are, in the limelight for a while or for a long time, and then the new people come along, and I think there's lots of really great philosophers who are not in the limelight who should be, but I think it would be nicer if we focused sometimes more on the work and not so much on personalities.
Oh, all right. But is there any particular characteristic or feat of philosophers that you particularly admire when interacting and engaging philosophically with them? There's
a kind of, I think, an intellectual humility with many people, and really a genuine open-mindedness, and genuine curiosity, as opposed to thinking, well, this is a certain kind of philosophy I don't, for some reason, respect, or I don't appreciate this type of philosophizing. But I do think there are some extremely rare cases where you really feel that there's an incredible respect and open-mindedness and curiosity about all kinds of very different types of work that people do, which is extremely admirable, and I certainly do not live up to that ideal myself.
All right, and do you think that now we are lacking that kind of academic humility and intellectual humility? We should have more, or do you think it's like widespread?
Partly that's also to do with how we are trained, especially in analytical philosophy. There can be a trend whereby if you show a certain type of humility, then that's read as not being strong enough in one's position. So I do think that we are in some sense also encouraged, if not at times indoctrinated, to lack certain kinds of epistemic virtues. And I think it would be good if we could foster and cultivate those virtues more in our practice and our teaching.
Okay, I'll take that then. And try to also implement it in my day-to-day, because I certainly think that our education has been like, you have to defend your argument, and if you this is phrased in terms of winning and losing arguments rather than a dialogue, and we construct and we discuss. So Mari, this is the last part of the interview, and it regards living in an academic world. So when was the first time you included text written by you in a course that you taught, or have you ever done?
Definitely, I have done, but I'm old. I don't remember. I don't remember what I taught last week, let alone 20 years ago.
Yeah, so I guess it's not the Hegel course you taught.
No, I'm pretty sure I didn't include anything of my own in the Hegel course. But I would expect probably in feminist philosophy courses, my Stanford Encyclopedia entry on sex and gender. I'm guessing.
All right. You've been in the UK, you've been in Finland, you've been in Germany, and you are now here in the Netherlands. So where have you find that it's the best academic calendar, where you have more time to research versus less time to teach, or the other way around, where you prefer teaching, more time for teaching, like in Germany with those long semesters?
Well, I can tell you which one I dislike the most.
Okay, let's go with that. Okay.
Let's go with that. And that, I think, is here in the Netherlands. I think we have extremely little time, at least certainly at the University of Amsterdam, and I know of other places to do research. It's true also that in Germany there were very long semesters, but somehow I got more done. I don't know. But I must say that one thing I really always enjoyed in Oxford were these very short and intense 3-terms of 8 weeks. Great. For me, it's the shorter the better.
But isn't it like almost like here, but only with more terms? Oh, okay, sorry, with less terms?
Yes, but sometimes we do very long courses here that stretch over 16 weeks or something, which I find quite difficult.
So, but since you've been like working in philosophy studying for so long, and I guess that you've also been part of many events and you've been at many institutions, but do you think that there's one that like organizes the best academic events?
No.
All right.
I don't. So many of the events that you go to at the start of your career are these very big conferences, like the American Philosophical Association conferences or the Research School of Philosophy conferences in the Netherlands. And that's simply because you want to get yourself out there and you want to meet as many people as possible and go to lots of talks. I don't know why the older I get, the less I can take these big conferences, and I get very tired very quickly. So.
And you find out workshops then?
So that's right. So workshops are the ones. What I really do now enjoy more is smaller workshops, especially that might even be sort of, no parallel sessions, where you can really have a lot of discussion, good-sized papers with a good amount of discussion. Well, I mean, I've probably been to about 25 at the University of Barcelona, and I keep going back, so maybe I should say that.
So there's one.
There is.
Well, thank you for being here. And I have one last question, and since you're here, I have to ask this. And it's about, like, you work on this very specific topics in philosophy that some people may not understand a philosophical topic. Like you mentioned hate speech, but you also worked in philosophy of pornography, right? So I just want to ask, how do you explain what you work in to someone who is a philosopher versus someone who isn't?
I mean, you're assuming that I speak to non-philosophers. No, I do.
Oh, you don't?
I do. No, I do. I certainly do. I think that most of what all philosophers in some sense or other do is conceptual analysis. Mm-hmm. So what I do is explaining to them that we are thinking about certain types of, meanings. So what do we mean when we talk about pornography, and that these could then be also implemented in various types of policy recommendations, hopefully, but that it's also very important for us as a society simply to understand what it is that we're talking about. So trying to sort of get clarity on particular notions, ideas, but to do that in a manner that is argumentative as opposed to a manner where we sort of do questionnaires and go out to the public to do that. And so it's a sort of, well, I used to tell people, to be honest, what I used to tell them is that what we do is philosophy is a kind of a bullshit filter. So this is what we do in philosophy is we teach students certain critical skills to navigate themselves as, you know, people in the world, as citizens. I'm less confident that we're succeeding in that nowadays.
But well, Mari, thank you very much for all your answers. And thank you for being part of People Philosophy. And I hope I catch you in the next one. And I'll see you at the departmental meeting, I hope.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. And,
Right. Bye-bye.
Hello there, I'm Pablo. I'm the host of Ping Pong Philosophy. Thank you for watching or listening until the end. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. Remember that you can like and subscribe to keep updated with everything we do here. Until next time.